Hey everyone, and welcome to another Deep Dive Explainer. Today, we're looking at something that honestly sounds like pure science fiction, but I promise you it is 100% real. We're talking about a creature so massive, so absolutely dominant that it completely rewrote our understanding of prehistoric life. Our journey starts in Colombia, specifically at the Cerrejón coal mine. Now, this is one of the world's largest open-pit coal mines, where these giant machines are just digging deep into the earth, pulling out hundreds of tons of coal every single day. But hidden right there within those walls, buried beneath all that modern industrial machinery, lay a literal time capsule holding unbelievable fossils. Today, we're going to explore the rise, the terrifying reign, and the mysterious disappearance of the largest snake to ever slither across our planet. And more importantly, what its sudden extinction can actually teach us about our own fragile existence.
To really understand this, let's set the scene. Picture this. It's a modern geology student out on a routine field trip in 2024 at the Cerrejón mine. While examining the rock walls, they start spotting impressions of leaves, plants, and seeds perfectly preserved in the stone. Now, finding plant impressions, that's pretty normal. But what they stumbled upon next was anything but normal. These didn't belong to any modern jungle. They belonged to an ancient world from 60 million years ago, a world that was just recovering from the extinction of the dinosaurs. So researchers decided to dig a little deeper, and they struck fossil gold. They started unearthing these massive, incredibly thick bones. At first glance, well, everyone just assumes these huge bones belonged to giant crocodilians, which, makes logical sense, right? Giant crocodiles definitely lived in South American swamps back then. But, as we know, science is full of surprises.
Okay, let's dive into this incredible timeline. These massive fossils were carefully packed up from the Colombian coal mine and shipped straight to the Florida Museum of Natural History. The researchers there were all set to catalog some really impressive crocodile bones. But here is exactly where the story pivots. A resident snake expert is unwrapping these bones. He picks up one of the massive spinal pieces, physically flips it over in his hands, and he just freezes. The shape of the bone was entirely wrong for a crocodile. The internal curve, completely wrong. In that one heart-stopping second, he realized he wasn't holding the remains of a crocodilian. He was holding the vertebra of a snake, an impossibly huge snake, a creature so large that literally nothing like it had ever been recorded in human history, or the fossil record. The world was just about to meet Titanoboa. So, jumping to 2009, Jason Head's team published this groundbreaking paper in the journal Nature. They analyzed 186 fossil specimens, which came from about 30 different individual snakes found at the Cerrejón site. By comparing these ancient vertebrae to modern water snakes, they could actually reconstruct its true size. And you guys, just look at the scale of this data. Today, the heaviest snake on Earth is the green anaconda, maxing out at a recorded length of around 8.5 meters and a weight of 227 kilograms. But Titanoboa? Later skull-based studies revealed this absolute monster was over 14.3 meters long and weighed a staggering 1,135 kilograms. It was almost double the length of our largest modern snake and roughly 5 times the weight. I mean, wow. Yes, 42. And this number brilliantly illustrates the true scale we're dealing with here, 42 feet long. To put that into perspective, if Titanoboa was placed on a modern city street, its body would stretch the entire length of a yellow school bus. And if that isn't terrifying enough, just imagine its width. At the thickest part of its body, the diameter would be so massive that if it was just resting on the ground right in front of you, the top of the snake would reach your waist. These are not exaggerated movie monsters. These are peer-reviewed measurements of a creature that actually lived and breathed on this earth. But the real scientific mystery is, how does a snake even get this big in the first place? Especially considering no snake in the Amazon or the Congo or Southeast Asia today even comes close. Well, the answer to that mystery lies in a very simple rule of biology. Snakes are cold-blooded. This means they can't regulate their own internal body temperature. They rely completely on the external heat of their environment. The warmer the outside environment, the faster their internal metabolism runs. And a faster metabolism allows a cold-blooded body to grow at a super accelerated rate and reach massive sizes. So for Titanoboa to reach the size of a school bus, the world it lived in had to be incredibly hot. This brings us to this fascinating concept called the paleothermometer. Scientists realized they could theoretically use the body size of this ancient, giant, cold-blooded animal as a sort of biological thermometer to calculate exactly how hot the Earth's climate was 60 million years ago. But as you might guess, calculating that exact temperature sparked a massive debate. See, in 2009, Jason Head's team made a pretty bold claim. Based on Titanoboa's massive proportions, they calculated that the ancient environment must have had a consistent average temperature of 30 to 34 degrees Celsius. For context, today's hottest tropical forests average about 26 to 27 degrees. So they were arguing Titanoboa's world was roughly 4 to 8 degrees hotter than our modern tropics. However, opposing scientists fired right back in the exact same journal. They argued this approach was just way too simplistic. Their counterargument was that Titanoboa likely used behavioral thermoregulation. Basically, this means the snake could manually control its temperature by moving in and out of the sun, using shade or slipping into cold water. Because of that, using its sheer size to calculate global atmospheric temperatures could be really misleading. Now, as an explainer, I'm not here to take a side. What's fascinating is just that this debate remains wide open today, with no definitive conclusion. But regardless of the exact degree on the thermometer, we know for a fact the environment was extreme. I want you to imagine this 60-million-year-old world with me. The dinosaurs are gone. The Earth is recovering and completely transforming. Globally, there are zero ice caps. There's no winter. It is a world of consistent, year-round baking heat. The air is so thick with moisture, it would honestly be hard for a modern human to even take a breath. The Cerrejón mine acts as this incredible early megafossil record of a neotropical rainforest, a true time capsule. And in this hothouse, everything supersized. Alongside Titanoboa, the swamps were absolutely filled with giant turtles the size of pool tables. Seriously, large enough to lie down on. The rivers were patrolled by massive, heavy-jawed, ancient crocodiles with blunt teeth designed for crushing. It was this dark, high-moisture world with zero visibility rivers. Basically, the ultimate breeding ground for giant, semi-aquatic predators. Now, initially, just because of its sheer size, scientists assumed Titanoboa hunted exactly like a modern anaconda, slithering on land and constricting large terrestrial animals. But actually, scratch that. In 2011, a new expedition yielded an incredibly rare treasure, 3 distinct Titanoboa skulls. Finding the delicate skull of an ancient snake is almost impossible, and analyzing these completely flipped our understanding of the monster. The jaw anatomy, the structure of the palate, and the specific arrangement of the teeth all pointed in one very clear direction. This wasn't some land-running hunter. Its diet was highly specialized. The teeth were perfectly angled for catching and holding onto slippery, aquatic prey. That's right, Titanoboa primarily ate massive fish, and yes, even those giant, heavy-jawed crocodiles we just talked about. It was a supreme, highly adapted water predator. Picture the hunting strategy of this aquatic nightmare. Close your eyes for a second and visualize a murky, dark river. The water is deep, dark brown, almost black, stained heavy by tannins from the dense jungle above. On the surface, absolute stillness, maybe just a faint ripple. Hiding underneath the fallen roots of an ancient tree is a 40-foot shadow. It sits there, perfectly motionless in the dark water. Only its eyes and its nostrils are barely breaking the surface. It stays in this exact position not just for hours, but for days, completely silent, no movement. Then, a massive fish, or maybe a giant crocodile, unwittingly swims into the area. In a fraction of a second, the water explodes. The massive snake strikes instantly, coiling its heavy, school bus-sized body around the prey, crushing the life out of it before swallowing it whole. It was the absolute perfect ambush. But here is the ultimate mystery. If Titanoboa was such a successful, highly adapted apex predator with absolutely no natural threats, why on earth did it go extinct? It survived the aftermath of the dinosaur extinction, and there were no other mass asteroid impacts during its reign. How does a king just vanish? Well, science gives us 2 heavily debated theories. Theory number 1 suggests global cooling. As the climate shifted and the world slowly cooled down, Titanoboa, which was heavily reliant on a scorching environment to sustain its massive cold-blooded metabolism, simply couldn't survive the drop in temperature. However, theory number 2 points to an event 58 million years ago known as the Paleocene-Eocene thermal maximum. This was a sudden, massive global warming event. Some scientists argue this extreme shift in weather and temperature altered the ecosystem way too rapidly for the snake to adapt. So we're left with conflicting logic. Did it freeze out or did it burn out? The exact reason remains one of paleontology's great unanswered questions. So the crucial point is this. Titanoboa was the ultimate survivor. It was a creature perfectly tailored by nature for a very specific set of circumstances. It dominated its perfect environment, completely untouchable by any other living creature. Yet in the blink of a geological eye, the climate shifted, the weather changed, the prey likely migrated or died off, and the physical circumstances of the Earth basically broke the snake's perfect loop. It was completely erased from history.
Think about it. If we hadn't dug into that specific layer of coal in Colombia, we would never have even known that a 42-foot snake ever existed on this planet. It was defeated not by an enemy it could fight, but by the shifting climate of the planet itself. And this brings us to a stark, modern parallel. Nature crafted an environment where human civilization could thrive. But unlike Titanoboa, who faced natural atmospheric shifts, humanity is currently driving rapid environmental changes ourselves. We see this all around us. Millions of gallons of water wasted just for AI image generation, unchecked plastic pollution literally choking our soil, rapidly melting glaciers, and heavily polluted air and water systems. As a global society, we are aggressively testing the limits of our very own ecosystem.
Titanoboa was an unstoppable force of nature, completely wiped off the face of the earth by a changing environment. Which brings us to the ultimate question we absolutely must face today. If the ultimate prehistoric predator couldn't survive environmental change, can we? Fast forward 60 million years from now, will some future intelligent species or visitors to this planet be digging through our ruins, making an explainer just like this one, marveling at how a species as intelligent as humanity became the architects of their own extinction? It's a really heavy thought, for sure, but an absolutely essential one to carry with you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next explainer.